subscribe.
I'm the angry ops guy, hanging by a thread, living on Prozac, the meds from my head, jaded and burned out, ADHD and overdrive, manage your life, running on a wire, I love it, I hate it, I'm past repair, the angry ops guy, just another day.
Welcome back to the Angry Ops Guy podcast. Ops Mike here. I've got another guest and one of my friends in WSI. I have Nicole King with me today. Nicole is the owner and operator of her WSI Digital Direction franchise. She's been with the network for 8 years now. She's also a part of WSI Mastermind group with me and one of my friends. Going back, Nicole, it's got to be at least, let's say, around 2019, 2020 is when we first met.
Yep.
But it's so nice to have you on because, we only get to talk so much, once a month in masterminds, but here we are to shoot the shit about ops and why we love it, why we hate it, why digital marketing keeps us on our toes. And yeah, so first off, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's getting to the end of a week, a short week, and as you know, it's always challenging when you're got a short week. You get less work done, but the amount of work you have to do never goes away.
Short weeks absolutely suck. You grow up desperate for those extra days off, like, yes. But then as you get into owner operation or management leadership, you're like, I need every hour of the week just to get the tasks done.
Yep, absolutely. I say that every single time. Everyone says, "Oh, happy Family Day," and I'll be working. Don't you worry.
Well, we're going to dig into that a little bit. And, as you know here, we're going to catch up as friends. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that we're mutually interested in because we're both kind of engineering tech geeks in our own way. But, first off, like I've had with the other guests that have come on, just tell me a little bit about kind of your agency. And, like I said, 8 years already. Crazy to think. But, obviously, this isn't your first rodeo. This is kind of like the second chapter of your career. So
Yeah.
tell us just a little bit of how you transitioned into, your WSI franchise to what it's become today versus where it started.
Yeah, so I have a background in financial services. In 2017, they made the decision to do a mass layoff. So I was part of that mass layoff. And, at the end of the year when I'm leaving and there's a project still in flight and I'm still running through, at that point, it was challenging because did I want to continue to work in corporate? Or did I want to go and do something on my own? And I wasn't sure I really wanted to go back and start over again. And start over in financial services, it's a very, I guess, incestuous in the way that you pretty much almost know everybody within the industry. But do you want to go and start over at a new company or a new industry altogether? So then I thought, no, I really don't want to do that. So I started down the path of what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And that's where I came across WSI and thought, yeah, you know what? I'm a bit of a tech geek. I kind of like the idea of, working in an industry where I can always learn stuff. I can be straight into tech, and and in my mind at that point, I thought, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Marketing is a lot of fun. I've got lots of background in this, and I've run lots of big projects. I've done vendor management, data migration. My title was Director of Implementation and Integration. So I thought, yeah, I got this. So I decided to do marketing. I decided to do digital marketing. And certainly it's like leaning on the past, but wow.
What a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. We love what we do. The long days, the massive amounts of emails, the clients that never seem to understand anything we're talking about. And like you said, I'm working.
I'm working. Well, they said to me when I first joined that it would be like drinking from a fire hose. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I like learning. I'm good. It really is. And there's a, as much as you think that you've got this and you've got a ton of knowledge and everything else, it's still a lot to learn and a lot to take in. And still today, I mean, you bring AI, you bring anything that changes in the industry, and all of a sudden you're thinking, wow, I have a whole new thing that I have to learn.
It is a steep learning curve, eh? And that's what I kind of marvel at people that in, let's say primarily exiting corporate life, because a lot of people will start with the corporate job or again historically the corporate career, and whether you get phased out or whether you say this isn't for me or I don't want to work for anybody anymore, a lot of people kind of I'll say midlife choose, like that's why the people want to become sole proprietors, or they wanted I want to drive the bus versus working for somebody else. But going back to like digital marketing or a digital marketing franchise, there's a steep learning curve. It's not just I'm going to go sell widgets or units. I'm a big believer you need to be able to tie again strategy and technical capabilities and the narrative around marketing vision mixed with business goals. But then on top of that, where you're like, okay, I finally got comfortable with it, and then the ecosystem changes, or
Yeah.
technology changes, and then I call it like we're flipped upside down all the time. So it's like you're never stop learning, but it is not easy just to say, well, read this playbook and go through some head office training and all of a sudden you're this expert. It is a steep uphill climb to feel comfortable. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a doer, which means that in my mind, going into the business, it was, I've got this because I'm a process person, I am a project person, I'm an executor. Um, Probably the thing that I thought about last was that I have to have projects and clients to execute on, which means
What year did that light bulb go on?
right about the end of training when they said, go get a new client. And I went, oh, right. I better learn how to become a salesperson.
So tip number one before Nicole keeps going is tip number one is you're not just going to be building stuff. You have to sell it, and you have to learn how to sell it, and then you have to fulfill it. But
Yeah.
you're right. You got to have a million hats.
A million hats. And I'm the queen of analogies, so always have been. I mean, my team in corporate used to tease me all the time because I would have an analogy for everything. So I kind of leaned into that. And I remember the first time I met your Peter, and he started using the analogy of, you've got your website, which is like the car, and then marketing is the gas that you put in the car. And I went, that's a great analogy. I'm going to use that.
I still use that to this day.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most effective things because he took away all the technical confusing jargon and played it in very plain terms that everybody can understand. And that's to one of Peter's credit as a very tenured business development and salesperson, is finding a way to make people understand what you're talking about. And that's why I always marvel about my Peter is someone who's now in the later stages of his career, in the sense of winding himself down to full retirement, but he has never been obsolete like so many people with tech and just the evolution of a business like us in the technology sector, where they'll say like I can't keep up. My parents, for example, your parents,
Yeah.
the learning curve with even like an iPhone, for example, is so bigger than me and you just grabbing and turning on and saying, oh God, I did this and this and this. Well, then take it into digital marketing where nothing stays stable and it's always changing. And I've just always marveled about Peter on that, is he kept himself relevant, he kept himself educated. And as he's just continued to get older in his life, he remained sharp with what mattered in digital marketing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why he has one of the longest standing tenured agencies still in WSI, us going into our 26th, 27th year now.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I met Peter. Peter was one of the people that I interviewed um, before deciding to join WSI.
Yep.
And so then when I went to convention, of course, I'm like, who am I going to talk to here? And I'm like, well, look, there's Peter. I can talk to him because I've talked to him before. So I go and introduce myself to him. And, he's one of those guys that he just picks up and has a conversation with you, right? And doesn't matter. I mean, he's one of the top of the network, and he just picks up, and doesn't matter if you're brand spanking new, and he's going to have a conversation with you. And that the handy thing is that you guys were always really close to me and where I lived.
Yes.
So, it was easy to kind of build a bit of a relationship that way. And, Peter went out on a sales call with me, and we did a project together. And, I remember Peter's like, hey, let's go for lunch. He goes out, takes me out for sushi lunch. And it's like just nice to start to make a friend in the network at that point, because that was really early on for me when I'm still trying to figure everything out, and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, and so forth. And then having somebody like him around that was helping me was really, really nice.
That's Peter to a T. Peter is not one that likes the spotlight. He doesn't like to be on stage, doesn't like to have tons of speaking engagements and so forth. But one thing I've always said that people that ask about my story, being someone who has been very loyal to this agency for now going on 17 years, is Peter is very giving in that way for people, whether it's just his time or his focus. Like you said about your story, he has done that for countless people, because I think that also comes, in a sense of Peter being an immigrant to Canada and starting over from his corporate life and everything, and people gave him a chance or worked with him, and he's very big on giving back in that regard and giving opportunity to people. And I think that's a testament to his character and why he is as respected as he is, even though he's not in the kind of video lens of the agency anymore. But that he loved that part of it, because I think it's no different than his staff. It's the people that stick with him. He sees something in people, and if he can help mentor or ground them or give them a good process to follow, his true joy is seeing them succeed, and seeing you again 8 years later. Heidi's been on the podcast recently, but we talk all the time as friends, and she still talks about the early days of her franchise, and
Yeah.
the same type of bond. Peter, gave me time and lens. So I'm not sitting there pumping Peter's brakes here, but there needs to be more of that, because you're right. Like, you go into training as a new IC or new agency, and you're excited, and you have a group of people around you. There's excitement there, and you have head office running there, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you're done. Go out into the world. No different than a child leaving the nest, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's pretty lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're in a digital world where it's email and Zoom and everything else, and you're like, where is my support system? Who am I going to work with? Who is going to help me? And Eric Cook was on as well recently, and he just said,
Yeah.
he goes, that's the sheer power of the WSI network, is the relationships. It's not even the partnerships or the supplier. It's the relationships. Our mutual friend Greg Weston, again, I think he's had his agency now about 5-6 years, give or take, maybe less. Greg's a friend of mine, and I, met him in his early days. Coming to convention, which is always that kind of common ground to meet more people.
Yeah.
And he said to me, over a cocktail, he goes, "You guys are fucking nuts." And I started laughing because I knew exactly what he meant. I just said to him, like, "What do you mean?" And he just said, he goes, "You guys actually like each other." He goes, "I've been in the corporate world for 20 plus years or whatever else, big business. I know what these schmozzes and these conferences are." He goes, "You guys are sitting around here. You won't go to bed, and you just talk shop, and everybody is just like family." And I looked right at him with a finger and I said, "There it is." So in the early stages of your franchise, you got it. And that's the power of it. And that's why someone like me and people that probably listen to this podcast going, "Why does this goddamn guy talk about convention all the time?" It's not that it's the most amazing thing, but the coming of like-minded digital marketers together with a common goal, and that truly value talking up shop, and again, like going, and you just don't see people for a year, and hugs and time together for a week. It is really like a family reunion in a way. And new people come, and you think about how scary it is as a new IC that comes in with 6 months and drops into an all inclusive in Cabo or Mexico or Dominican Republic, and it's like, "Hi, I'm John," and you have all these pockets of people, but the pockets of people are like, "John, come on in here, man. How you doing? Sit down. What's going on?" And that's what warms my heart, because I was one of those people years ago, Peter dragging me to these things. And it's like, who's going to want to talk to this ops kid? And again, Eric and Lori and Chris and, and others just come on in, man. You're one of us.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, that was one of the things that I was looking for because my past life, I came from working with a lot of people where we had grown up through acquisitions and so forth. So we started out in a very small company to working with a really large company. And, you end up working with people over those years that you spend a lot of time with. And, you got a lot of war stories. And, I had almost 20 years in there. So, you kind of grow up in the environment and so forth, lots of travel, everything. So you're kind of going out of that and thinking, I need to get into a place where I still feel that, and I think the other thing for me, anyways, is that my past life, I also had a really good global team. So I felt globally connected. And starting your own business is great, and being more local is great. At the same time, I really also liked being globally connected. And I still get that.
You
Because
bet.
we've got friends everywhere. We got friends all over the world. So you still feel connected to people outside of your own little bubble.
I love it. And like I said, that Greg, I almost forgot that Greg little story. And I'm sure he won't mind me sharing it because it was meant with good intent versus, him, ripping the network or what. But it's like he had that reality check. I think it was like his first convention or maybe his second one.
Yeah.
And it's just the reality check kicked in. But it was so cool to see because you could tell it was like, I'm accepted.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And again, like none of us can navigate this digital marketing shit on our own. You
No.
need people's brains that wire differently than yours. Like you and I are very similar, and probably that's why we get along, but we're so different. But when we talk shop, we're not butting heads. I say something and you come in with another example, and we both walk out of it going like, wow,
Yeah.
mind blown. But that's
Yeah.
the power because there's so many things to figure out. Brain can only take so much, and there's a lot of smart people out there.
A
And
lot
and
of
for
smart
people
people.
to be giving with their time and their knowledge, their experience sharing, where else are you going to find that? So maybe that's my little plug for WSI, drinking the navy blue Kool-Aid. But but that's what I've always marveled, and that's why I've stayed loyal to WSI because I identified that very early on. And even my wife has said, like, you ever think about, just going on your own and doing consulting or agency? And I'm kind of like, no. And they're like, well, why? And I'm like, where am I going to find a network of friends and colleagues and peers and suppliers and support that are going to help me navigate the ocean
Yeah.
versus being an independent agency by yourself, working in your basement in your underwear with a pizza box in the middle of the
Yeah.
night? That's a visual that everybody wants, is me in my underwear. But
It's a tough road for those solopreneur digital marketers, in my mind. I mean, 2020 hit, and there was a lot of pop-up people that thought they would start digital marketing agencies or social
yes.
media, manager solopreneurs and so forth. And I mean, I don't know that I would have survived that. I mean, that was for me going into, I mean, I joined WSI in 2018, but I didn't finish my training and so forth until probably September and got my first client in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of count 2019 as my first year. And then, 2020 hits, and I'm kind of like, oh, wow, I'm a year and a half into my brand spanking new business, and the world just shut down.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't imagine, not having WSI and everything else around me because as I'm still a deer in the headlights. WSI is okay. We're gonna do weekly, ahead of the curve webinars, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and it just kind of kept the ball rolling, and it kept connected to everybody, right?
May I just say on that, I completely agree with you, Christ. Like, I don't think about COVID too much anymore, but you're right. Like, we're all sitting there going like, what are we going to do at that time? Zoom was not as integrated in everything we do.
Yeah.
MS Teams wasn't where it was. So we're all in offices still. We all got desktops. We're driving into the office and so, and then, Peter and, everybody's saying, go home. We're mandated to go home. And it's like, well, what do I do? And we're like, we'll figure it out. And then you're trying to navigate, just like every business is at that time. And then from there, again, our head office and the creative team there is sitting there going, well, guys, we're going to help try to guide you and just information on how to help your customers through this, how to make sure that you have touch points. Like you said, the webinars, bring your clients to our webinars to help them understand what we're seeing, or why you need to look at e-commerce now because your storefront is shut down and so forth. Like,
Yeah.
where are you going to get that in ABC agency, this, and to your point, like those ones there had a very hard time because all they had was their client list.
Yeah.
But we had the network to kind of say, help us understand how to navigate this until we can get back to what we do. And I can only imagine how scary it would look. It was scary for me and our agency being at that time 20 years plus.
Yeah.
You're a year and a half,
Yeah.
and you're sitting
Yeah.
there like, what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly was at that point a little bit, what am I going to do? And at that point, my primary lead generation tool was telemarketing.
Yes.
And so I put that on hold because at that point, people are still trying to figure out how do we get everybody to still have a phone now that everybody's mandated to be home. So, I stopped that for about 6 or 8 months before I started picking up. And then at that point, I kind of thought, well, I'm either going to make it work or I'm not. And I thought I'm just going to double down, which I did. I had 2 telemarketers and I was doing LinkedIn marketing. So I kind of did 3 different lead gen outreach programs. And, so 2021 was a better year for me, getting new clients and starting to build the business. So by the time I got to the end of 2021, I went, okay, I'm starting to feel better now.
Yep. Look at where you are now, right?
Yeah.
Like the journey's never easy, but like I love what you said about your former career path until you exited kind of corporate financial life, as you said, like the war stories. What we're talking about right now,
Yeah.
even though it's your story and mine, it's the war story. This is the stuff that when we get together, we laugh about. You remember this project? You remember when I met you? This and that. It's like, what a roller coaster ride. I've said to Peter, he won't come on the podcast, and it's perfectly fine. He's just not comfortable in that medium. Fine. But I said, like, can you imagine me and you sat down and just shot the shit like this? Like the stories me and him have together of the trenches and just the late nights and all the nonsense. It's just like, that's the stuff that we look at now and just laugh, like we survived,
Yeah.
and again, an industry that never sits still. Like, remember Peter, like, this is supposed to be the Nicole episode, but it's now the Peter episode. Sorry, Peter, I want some residuals off of this. And so does Nicole. But
See, this is what happens if he doesn't come on. He can't speak for himself. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm going to get a ping on MS Teams. Mike, I'm coming on next week. But the thing with that is, like, Peter started his agency in 1999.
That blows me away.
I
went
when
to
he
a sales
talks
call.
about those days, Nicole, he had, Front Page for Dummies, the book, and, what the internet was in 1999. Then, me being a dick, I'm like, hey, Peter, in 1999, I was in grade 8 or grade 9. He goes, go to hell. Like, but the reality of it is like, I was in elementary school or just getting into high school kind of thing. And, so it's very interesting to pick his brain now as a more mature man at the later stages of his agency and his career. And it's like understanding what he could build and what they were doing. And, like he said, he goes, companies were just excited about having a website. Look at me. I've got a website on my business card. But they didn't know what SEO was, or even if it was available. Then paid advertising came in, and then the social media boom that Eric talks about, and how that was a big fab until it became standardized. And now we're in the AI boom of how, everything is changing. But it's like so interesting to hear those stories, because it's like, again, it's like you keep adapting. You have to keep evolving, because everything you learned yesterday is gone the next day, and you got to keep figuring stuff out. But that's why I also think, as operators, and I classify you as an operator, even though you're an owner, because I've even said to you, I'm like, you're an integrator. I'm an integrator. Like, you can call yourself a visionary all you want, but you're an integrator. You get shit done.
Yeah.
But we have to keep learning, and we have to keep evolving, because nothing sits still. And but I think that's why we love it. is
Yeah.
because your brain never gets a chance to be complacent. There's always problems to solve. There's always something to learn. And I used to be very, again, I'm bouncing off my other podcast episodes, but like Eric and me talked really robustly about imposter syndrome. And I'll be the
Yeah.
first one to admit I have that.
Yeah.
I never think I'm good enough in anything I'm saying. I'm worried that somebody's going to roll. I was like, Mike, you're full of shit. My
Yeah.
point, my point simply being with that is, you know, what I love about it is I need my mind to be stimulated. I
Yeah.
need my mind to keep working. I worked a very mundane job for a little bit. When I say mundane, I'm not being disrespectful. I worked at a golf course maintenance, and I thought it was going to be the greatest thing. I'm going to work outside. I'm going to get a suntan. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I loved working in the yard and so forth. But when you're sitting there picking rocks out of a 400-yard fairway by hand, and then you're going to pick up branches, and then you're picking weeds out of sand traps, and you're looking at the clock and 7 minutes have gone by.
Yeah.
That was my moment, right coming towards the latter stages of college to try to figure out where I'm going to go. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't work on an assembly line where it's repeat next, repeat next.
Yeah.
I need to be mentally stimulated, even if that means chaos and stress, because it keeps me creative. It keeps my brain learning. So
Yeah.
going back to the imposter syndrome is I only have a college education, and
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you look at people who have bachelors and this and that and whatever else, and so the imposter in me is like, I just have 3 years of college, but I have 20 years experience in an industry that I've never stopped learning.
Yeah. Well, you got more than me.
I,
I mean, I started a full-time job when I was 18 years old, and
really?
yeah, and I kind of worked my way up. I went back to university, but I went back for project management, and because I wanted to be better and more capable at project managing. Um, but no, I mean, I have been on the job learning and taking courses through work and business and those sorts of things. But I didn't sit down and get a formal education. When I was 18 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I was kind of that. That's I don't do well to sit and read a book and figure something out. I am a doer. So I would often just go out and try something. And if I like it and it sticks, then I'm going to keep doing it. And if I don't, I'll find something new.
I'm very much like you. I'm a very practical learner. You allow me to visualize it or do it, or work through it. I can
Yeah.
retain it, learn it, talk about it, speak about it. I learned very quickly in just standard education going up that I can't live in theory. I can't, and
Yeah.
that's why I get frustrated. People are like, well, if this and then that, and maybe this and that. I'm like, no. A plus B equals C, and then here's the two variations that go off of C, and then it comes back to D or whatever. I'm like, aha.
Yeah.
So I'm like you as well. Like practically, show me, let me figure it out, and I will retain it. But
Yeah.
and that's why maybe I went to college, because they said practical is college, more theory and stuff is university, at least at that time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to build stuff.
And it's true. I mean, there's probably things that I missed out, and I might have, moved my career faster than I did because I learned on the job. But in other ways, I learned on the job things that I wouldn't have learned in school because school doesn't teach you the experience side of it.
Well,
You know,
school teaches you fundamentals of accountability, deadlines, and problem solving. It doesn't
yeah,
matter whether you're good at math, science, English, or whatever else, but that's really what it is. But to your point is, it doesn't matter if you have an education, you have life and work experience, but you have a toolkit now that allows you to problem solve situations and people and whatever else. So again, right, it's like you can have as many certifications on the wall of saying what schooling you did, and you might be the smartest person, but can you practically implement that, for whatever your purpose is, life
right,
and in
right,
business?
right.
So
I
we're
mean, it's funny.
integrators.
I mean, I have had people work for me over the years, and you learn from the school of life. And in my past life, I worked in application support, running the team for a large company and so forth. And you learn right away that people will have problems, but they maybe not always tell you all of the details around that problem in order to solve it. But you start to learn over the course of time the information that people may not think is important to share. So they don't share that, which then you build up better deductive reasoning skills, and you end up building up better problem skills. And you learn things like, what are the 5 whys for root cause analysis, and why would you even do 5 whys, and why wouldn't you just ask one? And the value of doing all of these things over the course of the years. And it all helps me today, because I look at a problem, and I always look at it and I stop and I think, that answer is too easy. I mean, sometimes it is easy, but sometimes it really isn't. You just haven't looked at it deep enough to understand what you're missing, and where it's going to have that gotcha. And I think that, for me anyways, the experience of it is, no, I know better because I've been in this scenario before. So I know that that's not the end of the problem.
Well, you make such an interesting point there, and let's segue a little bit from kind of our story and the years we've known each other. But let's talk about some things that are impacting us right now, and themes that we're passionate and focused on. Because you mentioned a good point there, um, in saying is we are going through a major transition in our industry with the influx of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, it's changing not only how we do business and sort. But my point in the segue is, you mentioned I'm able to look at this and apply that and whatever. But that's also why you've got the bug, and I think are one of the people I admire in how you're integrating AI, whether it's custom GPTs or in your process, because you understand with your practical experience, no matter what career path, how to engineer something. You're not classified as an engineer, but you are an engineer, because
Yeah.
engineering is not, and you're not engineering a building for load of this and that and 30 floors, but we're have to engineer problem solving. How
Yeah.
do you, like I said, that seems very simple, or that doesn't seem right. Let's drill further. Let's poke further. And guess what? That's how you get more out of artificial intelligence right now. It's not about just saying, and this is, maybe this is when the angry ops guy comes in. What really chaps my ass a little bit is when everybody's just like, oh, I just put in a prompt.
Yeah.
Because and maybe that's coming from a side of being too technical, but it's like, yeah, but generate me a picture of X and include Y. That's a very standard prompt that's going to give you a million different variables. How do you, to your point, how do you drill down that problem, that business problem, that marketing strategic problem, that performance data problem, and how
Yeah.
do you communicate with a tool like AI that is basically, as I put it, a virtual extension of your memory,
Yeah.
and allow it to process faster than your human brain can?
Yeah.
And so you need to know how to engineer it, how to refine it, how to drill down, how to get it more robust. And the more robust you can communicate it and allow it to understand what you're trying to convey or do, the better output you're going to be. So take that stupid little one line prompt, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden you've got a full 8.5 by 11 page prompt, but the power of what that can execute.
Yep.
And that, in my opinion, is engineering. And so we heard 2 years ago, if not at convention and everything else, that everybody's going to be a prompt engineer.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? Everybody taught prompt engineer. Everybody
Yeah.
got scared. Well, I'm not a prompt engineer, but you have to be a prompt engineer moving forward, because
Yeah.
how you engineer it to do or facilitate whatever you're asking it to do is, I feel, in my opinion, is how we're going to survive moving forward, but
Yeah.
also standing out. And again, an already commodity centric business, which is unfortunately agency life.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
thought? What's your thoughts on that?
So I think it goes even deeper, because you're right. I mean, and what we talked about 2 years ago with prompt engineering was, didn't take into consideration, projects, NotebookLM, gems, custom GPTs, or how all these things all mix and relate together, and how you could use them. So we thought, oh, a prompt engineer is going to go in, you're going to be able to create something that gives you a result that you're looking for, that is consistent and trustworthy, right? And people are still going out and putting prompts in, and there's still a lot of talk about hallucinations,
Yep.
which a lot of hallucinations come down to the quality of what you've put in. And also, you still can't necessarily go in and say, carte blanche, uh, AI is going to produce this and it's going to be right. Sometimes I look at having a conversation with ChatGPT or Gemini as like having a conversation with um, somebody that is a team member working for me, because they might come back with something and it isn't right. And I said, well, you produced this, but you didn't consider this. I gave you this information and you didn't go through, you didn't read it before you applied what I asked you to do. And then it comes back and it says, oh yeah, you're right. Thanks for calling that
Yeah.
out.
Oh,
Which,
you're absolutely right. One thing I learned, let's say in the last month or so, joining the AI Monday meetups, I was a late adopter to them. Again, naive a little bit about what it was going to be and my time and whatever. But I chose to join them recently since the start of 2026, and um, Robert Mitchell and Seamus, those two guys, they are fucking smart, man. Like
yeah,
these guys live and breathe this stuff. And when I say that, I utmost respect. It's like they're trying to be on top of this, and then the other gentleman, I forget his name,
Kundan.
Kundan. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Kundan. These guys, and what they can communicate and talk about and try to make us understand. But the one thing that I believe it was Seamus said on one of these, he says, guys, he goes, when you're customizing your GPT and personalizing it, which will absolutely make it better to be, again, that extension of you versus just, hello,
Yeah,
Nicole, what do you want me to do today?
yeah,
Because that's
yeah,
because that's important, right? Efficiency comes from it doing the mundane stuff for you. But he said
yeah,
the punchline was, he goes, everything you put out, whether it's a GPT or whether you're talking to it, whatever it is, the last line should be, ask me any questions. Sorry, no assumptions. Ask me any questions you need before we
yeah,
get going. And
yeah,
that blew my mind because you're thinking that's such a simple little thing, but it actually changed the way I'm using it now because exactly that, and drilling down with questions and so forth. And I was in our mastermind together and I shared that example of what I was doing and how I use ChatGPT, just for example. And our friend Gerardo Carrick, he
yeah,
jumped in on our mastermind. He goes, Mike, that's actually really impressive. He had a proper name for it. He goes, that's what that's called this. And he goes, that's actually very intermediate and robust in how you're reverse engineering it. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there going like, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that it's also trying to figure out how do you ground it, right? And how do you have it so that it is not going out and making up information that is not part of what is relevant for the topic that you're trying to cover. So whatever it might be that you're trying to create, that you're trying to maybe systemize, or you're trying to automate a process, or you're trying to do something, it is how do you force it to be grounded in what you're doing, right? And I think it's you talked about NotebookLM in one of our last kind of conversations as well, and kind of some things in there, and the possibilities of what you can do and where it has actually evolved to. I'm a little bit on a pendulum of who's doing a better job between ChatGPT or Google or OpenAI versus Google with
Mm-hmm.
how it works. I mean, ChatGPT, you've got projects and custom GPTs and these things, you can relate them together. And on Gemini, you've got notebooks and you've got gems and you can relate it all together. So, but it's really interesting where Google has taken some of its capabilities and how you can actually do it, and then how you can layer it. So you can really start to ground out what you're asking AI to perform for you by building out some of those foundational pieces of information and then putting guardrails around whether or not it goes out beyond those
Yep.
pieces of information.
Yep.
And this is where you kind of got to get to when you're thinking about AI. It's not, you know, is AI going to replace humans, or is AI going to replace my job, or is AI going to do these things? There is going to be there will be, in my opinion, there will be an evolution. It'll be an evolution where, yes, AI will replace jobs, but as humans, we evolve. As humans, we get better. So then we think about, where were we in the Industrial Revolution, or before the internet, or before social media, or before our phones took pictures? And, did our phone taking pictures do away with actual SLR cameras or any of the old school cameras or video or those sorts of things. It just changed who used it and what it was used for. And I think AI will evolve a lot in that way. You'll have different layers and different skill sets using AI. Companies will put AI in, but it's going to reduce, in my opinion, work that is repetitive or potentially not a lot of fun for some people to do, and allow people to get out of the way of some of those day-to-day tasks to do what humans should be doing.
Well said. And one thing that stands out from what you said there, just when you're talking about all the different applications and tools that are out there, whether it's Google or GPT or Claude now and everything else,
Yeah,
is there's so much to consume. And I think there's another imposter syndrome example of like, oh, I don't know enough, or I haven't dug into enough. It's like, just play with it. Find a purpose on one of these large language models that supports what you do day in and day out. And then from there, drill down a little bit further. But again, unless you're a Seamus or a Robert or a Kundan that
yeah,
lives this in life and career, you're
yeah,
not going to have a million accounts. You're not going to be able to do a million things.
yeah,
Start small.
yeah,
Like I've said on the podcast and to my friends, like I build those silly op songs about basically processing the rage in my head of my operational nonsense. But that was how I learned AI, because
yeah,
I was a year behind some people because I don't need AI and it's not going to be a thing. And, like what an idiot. But I was scared of it. I was naive to it because, I'm a 15-year digital marketer. I know what I'm doing. I know how to type an email. I didn't know where to put the light bulb on
yeah,
to understand aha. And coming back from, again, probably convention and having thought leadership and stuff from head office and others talking about it, they talked about, you can use this, AI song program app called Suno to generate jingles for customers. And I'm thinking like, that's the stupidest thing ever, because that's the negativity in me. But I sat on the whole plane ride home thinking like, that'd be interesting. And I love music. I can't play anything worth a damn, but like I listen to music every minute of my life.
yeah,
And so I go set up an account and I'm like, I'll try all this out. And okay, click here, do this, do that. Okay, it's not generating lyrics for me. I can put thoughts together, and all of a sudden I'm using GPT to organize things and flow and this and where. And then I'm figuring out a song style, which is a prompt. And all of a sudden I generate something. And I'm like, I'm pretty proud of this. But my point being is like, I used it as a hobby first, but the light bulb went on. And then it was like, oh, I
yeah,
can use this stuff for day-to-day digital marketing and chief operating officer and
yeah,
everything else. So that was my moment of just starting with something so ridiculously small and not focused and whatever, and now expanding and expanding. And you talked about me in NotebookLM. I've only gotten into Notebook. Again, shout out Chris Murray, WSI Montreal. Denise Bowen, at Blue Ocean Interactive. We got together in December, and I was just talking about something. And it was my massive report I put out there for the network about the SEO IRL conference.
yeah,
And we were going to talk about some themes out of that. And it was just Chris Murray said, he goes, my head hurts with that report. And I was laughing, but he says, but I put it into NotebookLM and I was summarizing pieces out of it. And I'm like, I'm slow to figure that piece out. And he showed me a demo for 5 minutes and I
yeah,
was blown away. I was like,
yeah,
this thing exists. So my point being is, okay, NotebookLM's been out for 1 or 2 years, but it doesn't matter when you adopt it. You just need to figure out the application. And to your point now, I know with you going back to, what you've presented at regional meetings, super impressive about the, it's the GPT projects.
yeah,
So
yeah,
GPT's version of Basic NotebookLM is having a project about all your client stuff in a bucket
yeah,
versus just prompts to spit out repetition. And you're
yeah,
showing us how you've classified it and how you've got all these and what they do. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm talking to GPT. Like my point being is, um, now you're digging into NotebookLM, and now you're saying, well, it may not be better, but now you have different options based on different needs. Are you a
yeah,
G Suite customer? Then I can bolt on to Gemini and to NotebookLM. Are you
yeah,
GPT to connect to agency analytics or whatever else? So, you're just diversifying, not
yeah,
slowly, but rapidly, your toolkit because now you're going to be able to say, well, I'm going to use this for that, this for this for
Yeah.
that, and this for this. And now I'm going to be even more constructive and more indispensable to my customer because I can connect all of these together to ultimately produce a better output with efficiency.
Yeah.
Or me and you have both lost staff recently
Yeah.
for different
Yeah.
reasons. And what is the most heart-sinking thing as an operator when you lose a staff member is I've lost what's in their head. They don't document shit. I don't have good process documentation or whatever. But if you got a NotebookLM or you've got projects in GPT with everything about the customer, then that
Yeah.
person is by,
Yeah.
because now that's the brain that says this is everything about company X. And
Yeah.
now Nicole doesn't have to go back with the new person that she hires and interview the customer, which is the biggest piss off to a customer. Nicole, I've been with you for 5 years. You going to tell me I got to tell you about my business again?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
friction.
That is huge friction. And being able to go out and generate playbooks that doesn't matter who is doing the work, it is consistently done because it follows the playbook and you've got guardrails around it following the playbook makes a big difference. I mean, when I lost staff last year, it was and that individual was very good at putting notes into my project management tool, comments, where's everything at, and a lot of the way that they thought and so forth. So I was able to use ChatGPT and not diving down the MCP server rabbit hole, but connect my project and have it go through and scrape information and give me information quickly where everything is at and what was the last status, what's the next action items, and kind of build things out so then I could keep things going without breaking stride.
What a punchline there. Continue to move things forward without breaking stride. Whereas again, that could have regressed you 3, 6, 9 months with client deliverables, client retention, and just customer confidence that you're the right partner to be with, which in small business we can't have that happen.
Yeah, that is exactly it. I mean, AI and where we're at least for me when I'm in my business, I listen to, your podcast with Eric and Eric Cook, and I think, wow, I wish I could be doing all of that stuff because he is so far deep, Gerardo is so far deep in some of this stuff and learning and doing all kinds of fun things with AI. But I am still kind of gathering the information from them using, and again, I mean, it goes back to, why part of WSI is because I don't necessarily have to be the expert on everything because I've got so many people that are experts in spending the time. But I think that, anybody that listens to this podcast and thinks about, should I use this or should I use this? Or as it evolves, maybe I should change over to this. And, when I first started building out ChatGPT the way it sits today, Gemini was not even close to being capable of doing what it did.
Yep.
And now it's kind of, oh, is it edged ahead and does it have more capabilities? And in some cases it does. But at this point, do I then take everything that I've built in ChatGPT and move it over to Gemini? And then when ChatGPT comes ahead, do I take it and move it back again? Like somewhere along the way, you kind of have to figure out or pick your lane at least for a
Yeah.
period of time and have a good solid reason other than it's a really cool shiny object to move to a whole new platform.
And there's so many shiny objects with the AI boom, so much out there, and it's like it's hard not to look at everything and go, wow, wow, wow. To your point, it's you got to drill down almost the use case of what that application. Again, Gemini mixed with NotebookLM mixed with Gems and everything else is going to have an application for X, Y, and Z. But
Yeah.
GPT is going to have it for this. And if you can have those organized well, and you have, I can almost call it like a puppeteer. If you have more strings to pull, that makes you more sticky with customers, but also allows you to evaluate and produce bigger and better solutions with better efficiency versus putting all your eggs in one basket. So you started with GPT. Like I said, I think what you've done with the project, well, again, that regional presentation you did, I misunderstood even what the topic was because again,
Uh,
I didn't understand that. And then here's Nicole going up and she's got on the screen, she goes, let me show you a live demo of what I've got here. And I'm literally sitting there in the room and I'm like, you can do that? But like that's your wizardry because you're passionate about it. You love tech, you're an integrator, and you love building solutions. So you're building solutions for yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's lost at all. But I think it also gives you a unique advantage now to say, well, you know what? If I am passionate about, Google's products or Google's LLM, uh, now I can compare because now I know this is really sound, and I can be someone that tells the network or Mike or whatever else, hey, Mike, this isn't even close to ChatGPT's projects
Yeah.
because you know one or the other. So again, it's like coding languages from back in the day, right? It's like
Yeah.
ASP to .NET to PHP to JavaScript to whatever it is, but they're all different. But if you know one, the adoption of another one is proportionately easier because the
Yeah.
systematic logic is kind of the same.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Google gets to because I mean, Seamus and Robert talk about this on their calls, and they make a really good point because at this point, Google's a well-built company. Google has revenue,
Yeah,
profits.
yeah,
OpenAI, on the other hand, is not. They're still a fairly new company. They're still trying to build their revenue streams. They're still trying to get to a profit state. And so Google has deeper pockets to build and to build faster at this point. And it's not to say that OpenAI isn't getting investors and getting more and going faster because, we already know they've already released new stuff this week. So it's interesting to see where this race is going to get to because it's just going to, and this is where I get down into this is so cool because they're trying to beat each other at this point. So what kind of things
it's
are
an
we going to
arms
get to in
race.
the end,
We've been
right?
saying this for over a year and a half, 2 years since Microsoft made that major investment into OpenAI.
Yeah.
Google got caught with their pants down,
Yeah.
and that to your point with how established Google is and how established in the sense of market share Google dominates.
Yeah.
Google doesn't want disruption in its own system.
It does not.
It does not at all. So they really got exposed there and saying, hi, there's someone that's going to take market share. Where now, again, Google dominates so much market share, but you saw what OpenAI was getting. And then you saw and you heard through the channels and the head office and everything that Google is shifting so much money and resources into the AI arms race
Yeah.
because they did not want Microsoft and OpenAI to start what they've been dominant on for 10 to 15 years, if not.
Yeah.
So, with
They
that
move
being
fast.
said, I'm not surprised at all that Google, at the beginning, it was rough because, like you said, Gemini wasn't even close to what chat could do.
Yeah.
But look at how much Gemini has improved in what you want to say, in fairness, 6 to 12 months,
Yeah.
if that,
Leaps and bounds. They kind of went
leaps and bounds.
whoopsies and then they, put their foot on the gas.
And you're seeing it now with what they're pushing out and what they're doing, like you're saying, and it's very, very impressive. And I also think it's healthy, right? Because you don't want a single entity um, dominating a space.
Yeah.
Competition is healthy because it's going to push all of the major brands or all the major corporations to continue to challenge themselves to evolve and expand, and then allow people, whether it's the general public or us in digital marketing, whatever, to choose what will best suit what we need to do versus saying, well, this is the only one on the market.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think
I'm
the hardest
excited
thing
for
is,
that because you do need different options. Like Claude, there's a lot of chatter right now how impressed Peter. I saw something on LinkedIn. Peter Pilarski was saying, and it was just kind of one of his like thought leadership posts about himself. He's saying like, I'm not really using ChatGPT anymore. I think he said something, I'm really focused on Claude based on this and this and this. I may be
yeah.
misspeaking, but I read that and I was like, interesting. And then you hear from like team member stuff about what they're building in Claude code now to help efficiencies in their departments and so forth. So again, it's just it's very healthy in that way. It's like you
Yeah.
said, you have to have guardrails, but keep learning, keep trialing and error. And ultimately, if you haven't gotten into it, just start having a conversation with it. Because
Just start
like my
having
story about
conversations. Yeah.
music, where's the light bulb go on to say I can use this to do that? That's the first eureka moment for allowing yourself to start transitioning into being an AI engineer as it applies to what your agency does.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Even those tools that are out there, it's interesting because I will go out and I'll take a prompt and I'll put it into ChatGPT and then I'll put it into Gemini. I'll start to, compare across tools. of the responses that I'm getting. Now, if you ask ChatGPT to talk about me, it's going to give you a lot better information about me than probably Gemini would, right? But I've built out a lot more in ChatGPT than I have in Gemini. So it's kind of interesting to see where the divergent is. And even if you think about Claude or Perplexity, and you think about who's actually using them, how they're using it, and whether or not it suits their purposes. Because I think over the course of time, it will also start to evolve into who is this tool built for, and then what does it excel at?
I love that, because that's really what I hope it continues to do. Is this is really good for this is good for that, this is good for that. But again, you have 3 tools in your toolkit now versus just one. Because what happens if ChatGPT goes down? And it's happened once, right? And everybody
Yeah.
panicked, because
Yeah.
now we're so wired to use it for a lot of fundamental things. So
Yeah.
it's like the old days of Windows versus Mac, but it's the same
Yeah.
thing now. If ChatGPT gets blown up, if ChatGPT loses funding, then there's going to be other ones that can do similar, if not different things, because this is the way the world is going to communicate. This is the way the
Yeah.
world's going to discover information. And this is the way we are going to, as digital marketers, have to get our customers found, as the search experience continues to evolve, and how consumers consume information and want to find what solutions they need in the largest database that's available to them in the sense of content.
Yeah. You know what? You said something right there that just made me go ding, because as we're talking about all these tools, we're all learning how to use these tools, and as we evolve to become more and more dependent on it, business continuity planning, that needs to be part of what we're doing as we're rolling out AI, and even the things that we're talking and we're helping companies with in our AI adoption roadmap and so forth, like business continuity planning as companies are growing. Amazon lays off staff, Microsoft, and all of these companies are laying off staff, and then relying on AI to do some of those pieces of work. If that AI tool is no longer there, then you're losing a lot of staff in quotes, all at once. And how many companies are thinking about their business continuity planning as it applies to AI?
See, I didn't even think about it that way. That's very interesting. So you've picked up something from me, but I just learned something. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. But you're right. Yeah,
Right?
it's
I
like,
mean, we know about business continuity planning for every other element of our business, like if we had servers go down, or if we had, you know, a new piece of software that rolled out. What is our business continuity plan? What's our rollback plan? Like, what happens if doomsday comes, and what's next? And doomsday doesn't have to be, the world has ended. It can be, hey, we had a big power outage and power's not coming on for the next 5 hours, but my whole entire business revolves around AI, and now I can't function because I got no power.
no kidding.
Right? So so thinking about these sorts of things, and I don't know, these things always kind of make me just go to the next step with it, and what's going to happen next, and then how do you make sure that you're reducing risk within your business, that you're not relying 100% on it, or at least maybe you have a redundancy plan, in that maybe ChatGPT isn't your only solution. Maybe you do now need to build out your at least something to be able to easily move from one tool to another, so you have that redundancy planning.
Well said. And you mentioned doomsday, just to make you laugh. I hope it comes soon. Just like, I'm going to go sit out in the backyard, and when Skynet wants to drop the missile, I'm going to put my hands up and say, just take me. Just, just take me. If it gets me out of agency ops life, just do it. I'm the first
That's
one.
it. AI, you can have my job.
Yeah, the Skynet robot's going to look down and go, Christ, that guy's huge, and we're going to have to drop 2 missiles on him.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? Let's take the conversation, because I want to leave time for a couple of quick little war stories. One that's just really funny on my heart from you. And I don't even think you remember it, but it makes me laugh. But we talked offline before we started chatting here, and we've been talking about technology and everything else in AI. But one thing that you and I are both, let's use the word loosely, passionate about, but we are, is web development.
Yeah.
Because it's the fundamental, you go back to my peer, it's the engine to put the gas of which is your marketing dollars, to
Yeah.
take you to whatever strategic goals you're trying to achieve as a business.
Yeah.
And you talk about a shift, but web development, that used to be our specialty, right?
Yeah.
We are the people with developers and strategy and be able to put design to conversion and so forth. Sorry, I have to take my pills. Uh, um, but
We're remote,
we
so I'm safe.
yeah, you're safe. Yeah, the alarm goes off like, yeah, here it comes. um, but for web development, that was really a specialty, right? People that can do stuff in code and strategy and conversion architecture and so forth. But now with AI, there's already rumblings and there are some tools out there that you can produce something pretty quickly. Now,
Yeah.
we've been evaluating them. I don't think it's there yet, respectfully, that it's going to be able to generate a full design for you and then just code a full WordPress site yet.
Not quite yet.
But I really do think, and I'm very interested to hear your part, is literally based on what you can problem solve in, let's just use ChatGPT as the baseline everybody knows.
Yeah.
Between these content management platforms like Shopify and like WordPress as two big ones that are integrating AI tools, whether it's in the visual builder and whatever, I'm really of the opinion that the days of selling $15,000 for a website respectfully are over, because you have a consumer audience now that is saying, well, I got a buddy that says that with a little bit of AI, you're probably generating that in about 3 hours, but you're telling me it's a 3-month timeline. So there's perception and ignorance, unfortunately. But also on top of this, I think senior web developers that sit there and say, well, it's going to be 200 hours, 400 hours to build this, it's over.
It's over.
Or within a year, they are going to be sadly obsolete, where these are some of the smartest people to be understanding coding language to produce something, because they don't see the world like you and I do visually, right? But I think this is a major tipping point as well for that, and saying, like, what is web development? It's going to be important, especially with agentic, but what is it going to look like in the sense of execution? Because people don't want to spend that type of money. They are going to learn, and we are going to learn that we will be able to produce faster. And also people like myself and you and my PM Lenny, who's a really smart dude, we're solving problems for developers right now.
Right.
Oh, I don't know how to fix this. Well, I dumped your CSS and that JavaScript in the GPT, and it said, there's your error right there. Oh, thanks, Lenny, it's fixed. So my point being is the developers aren't bad people, but like, if you can reverse engineer that to problem solve, that I don't have to pay 10 hours for you to fix it. So then 400 hours to build that website turns to 40 hours, which means, can we pump a website out? And, some people have said we've put up, it was you that said it? You did something with a girlfriend or whatever over a weekend, just to build something quick. But you're like,
one day,
weekend we had something up.
Yeah.
So again, that's a mouthful, but what do you feel about that? What do you think? And then tie it back to what you built there.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of interesting evolutions here. So I kind of want to back up a little bit on the side of that. I have had conversations with companies over the years, because, we all know that there's really 3 types of companies or people that build websites, and there'll be graphic designers, website development companies, and marketing companies, right? We've all gone up against all of them, and we've all talked about, what does one do strong versus the other, and I've always said, if you have a graphic designer, they're going to build a beautiful website. If you have a website development company, they're going to build a technically sound company. If you're working with a marketing company, we have both of those people. But, we don't build websites because we want beautiful, technically sound websites. I mean, yes, we do, but we have a bigger purpose for websites. And the bigger purpose is that we don't build websites so they can just sit out there and be pretty. Companies build websites to grow, be visible, generate revenue for multiple purposes. And that is the purpose that, in my opinion, marketing companies put onto website development. And I still think that a lot of that doesn't go away. I think that, when we're continuing to build websites, we're building websites that are still strategic. They have purpose. And as much as you can go out there and you could have, somebody use any of these tools that are out there to throw together a website. I've gone out and done prospecting calls, and I always try to be very respectful to people when they're showing me their websites and what they've built. And I talked to one company, and the owner very proudly, who is a technology company, they do software development as their primary source of business. And they went and stood up a website in a weekend. The owner did it, and he's all proud about the website. Sure, he stood it up, but it was all AI generated images, AI generated text. But again, it's somebody that didn't understand from a marketing standpoint what to put in there, what to ask. So the website didn't resonate with anybody. We have our purposes, which if somebody lands on your website, that should match the intent of that search. And if you've got somebody landing on a website and it might be beautiful or it might be technically sound, but it doesn't have the right messaging on it, then it doesn't resonate with anybody and they leave. So, I still think about, how is a website put together? And I think about, are you putting the right information in the top that people are looking for? Because you don't want to cause people frustrations. And, I always tell people like phone number, top right corner, and because that's where you expect it to be. And even though, people will say, well, I want to be a little bit different than everybody else, not to the detriment of causing barriers to people becoming frustrated and moving forward. So if you think about it, someone goes, oh, why don't they put the phone number there? Oh, it's over there. But it's that, and it could be a minor thing that you've got it in the top left, but
But right away, you lost that potential customer that got to your website and got, to your point, you got frustrated. And in
frustrated.
today's world, no matter what your age, how in tune you are with online experience, if you're frustrated, you are going to say, nope, fuck this. I'm
Right.
going somewhere else. Because if the next website you go to says, there it is,
Yeah.
then they've got at least your engagement or the foot in the door to talk to you,
Yeah.
because that's bad user experience.
It's
And
bad user
and we
experience.
expect everything now more than ever at the snap of a finger.
Yep.
And if it's not there, we do not have compassion or patience to dig even a one click more to give something a chance.
Not the least
We
amount.
live in a very entitled world now of everything. It just has to be there, served to us on a platter. So to your
Yep.
point, that comes down to conversion architecture. That comes down to human strategy, understanding how a human buys, how a
Yep.
human engages, not because an AI just says I can do it faster. And that's why, you and I, when we talk about this and other people in the network is saying, is AI very likely could replace us in time. But right now, what AI can still not do is it cannot understand the human element, which is emotional
Yeah.
and how humans tick.
Yeah.
It learns from humans. That's what me and Heidi talked about. We're teaching AI like we're teaching a child how to
Yep.
understand how we do things, and it is learning at an astronomical rate. But it still doesn't have our lens. So yeah, let's take something basic. You can generate AI-driven content, and yes,
Yep.
I feel terrible for traditional copywriters that have lost their employment because I could spit out 1,000 words like that, but it still needs the human lens to vet it, to fact check it, to make sure it hits the right strings for the engagement,
Yeah.
because you didn't write that content necessarily just for the AI to say, oh, I understand the topic. You've generated that so that it solidifies somebody saying yes, check mark, yes, check mark, yes, check. What do I do next? And if
Yeah.
we and then that's where every page on a website now, and what we're being taught is every page has to be a conversion signal
Yeah.
versus just a door opener. That page, somebody else said it to me. I was talking, every page has to be a landing page.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right,
Yeah.
because that's what we expect now.
That's what we
The
expect.
AI's told me this is the information that is accurate. It gave me the citation of the door opening to the website. It's taking me directly to where that language is. Now I've basically validated yep, that's right. And now what am I going to do? Don't make me think.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? I mean, you said something in there that, if I could get my memory back, because, my memory doesn't always work, I get excited and keep moving down the chain here. But when you're building out the website, or when you're developing out content, it kind of goes back to try not to be too short sighted on how much value a person is to developing content using AI. because I've seen people and they go out and they will put a prompt in and say, hey, can you write me a blog post on this topic? And it goes out and it writes a blog post and someone looks at it and goes, oh, that's awesome. Great. Take it, post it, Bob's your uncle. Right. But AI still is very repetitive in that content generation. It
Very
doesn't,
much so.
differentiate the content so that you don't recognize it. Still uses M dashes on writing
Yes.
content. It's, every time I see a Facebook post or a post, and I said it to somebody on Facebook the other day who was complaining about AI, but they had M dashes in their whole complaint. And I said, as written by AI. And she came back and she said to me, well, I worked for one of the top guys, and I was responsible for the training on a lot of the AI models out there, and I've always used M dashes. I don't think so, because in order to use an M dash, it really looks like a double dash, and it's not on the top part of a keyboard. So if you're typing on a
You
keyboard,
can't replicate that as a human. You can't.
you can't replicate that.
You can't replicate that. That is truly an AI generated element of how it's baked to generate something. And you're
Right.
absolutely right. Like
You could
on that
double dash
example,
it.
yeah. But
But
the thing is, you're so right. It's like I was on LinkedIn last week, and somebody posted something. It wasn't about me, but it was something around me or whatever else. It wasn't malicious. It was very nice, but I read it twice, and I'm like, it's AI generated. You could just see based on the format of it and whatever else. So it's like,
Yep.
it's not as heartfelt as when somebody with crude language or bad grammar or lowercase or whatever does, but at least it's real. And
Yeah.
and that's what I think it's going to turn into, is like, we hear this word AI slop, but I think people are going to want to have the human element more as the human element goes more away, as people want to use the technology. Right. And that could be a differentiator as well, because to your point, you go back to content. Real good content people know how to build robust GPTs, to have robust frameworks and robust rules in order to produce a robust product, and then fact check it, plagiarize, check it, validate it, whatever else, and then put it out, and then have the customer say, wow, great piece about my brand, go. So to your point, everything is an evolution. Yes, the scarcity of, graphic designers are going to go away, copywriters are going to go away. Hey, developers may go away. If they're smart, like all of us, they will learn how to engineer, to use artificial intelligence, because that's the new way to be able to do it. So yes, it's not going to take 400 hours, but go back to something we were saying is, nobody wants to sit in developmental hell of 3, 4, 6 months of a web build anymore. It is about getting customers into that, I'm doing with quotations, phase 2 marketing, recurring income.
Yeah.
They want progress, visibility, discoverability, leads. We need recurring income streams. The faster you can get out of phase 1 with quality good enough to start layering comprehensive marketing on top of it, benefits everybody. Because you and I both know, we had a client together. Yeah. It was our first project together. Building it is my team was supporting you with this project. We had everything set up around getting into marketing, and they were excited. Remember? SEO contracts and everything else. And then their delays delayed the project months. And me and you were talking, you're like, Mike, you can't hammer this hard enough on them, but it was an internal challenge for them. Well, guess what? Project goes live. They were so bloody just tired of it and whatever else. They didn't pursue the marketing with you. They made internal restructuring of things. And it was like, why did we even invest in that product? But the point is because the project took too long, but it wasn't on the agencies, you and I, for the reason. It was them. But can you imagine if we would have been able to say, we're going to take everything out of the onboarding call, everything you've given us, we're going to generate everything. You're just going to have to review it, and you're going to review it in a week. Yeah. Because the momentum's based on when they signed, right? We're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's going to be a phased approach, but giddy up. And then it's like, I haven't talked to Nicole for 6 months. Who are you again? What is SEO? What is marketing? Because, again, people's attention spans, they got, owner operators have too much on their plates. So, I really think that, the next thing for agencies in the sense of survival, but also to be more sticky with clients, is we're going to have to learn how to build faster. We're not going to have to depend on that savant of a developer that can only understand everything, but he can barely talk to you.
and God
Yeah.
love them, but it's going to
Yeah.
be help me generate this, put the human element on top. But hey, guys, it'll take 2 weeks to do this project, one weekend to do this project or whatever, and let's get into marketing, because that's what everything's about. Building a website just to build a website, and this sounds like an old statement, but it's not enough.
It's
You
not enough.
have to put the gas in the engine. And the
Yeah.
gas is really what's going to sustain the investment on that engine, that website, to be your largest sales tool, your marketing tool, in the biggest, again, database and platform, and where your customers are finding you at any hour of the day when they're searching to assess solutions to the pain and what's keeping them up at night, whether it's the cash flow of their business, whether they're not getting people, the phone ringing and whatever else. They're not looking just 9 to 5. They're looking at 3 o'clock in the morning with the sweats, because
Yeah.
they don't know how to pay the next bill.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got to get into marketing. And now,
Yeah.
more importantly than ever, marketing is so imperative, because now we have a whole other playground now, which is we've got to get you found and discoverable in the AI, as they call it, search engines.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's where the conversations are happening, between what people want.
Yeah.
How do I do this? How do I make that? What's the best way to do this and that? We're literally, like you said, I can call Eric and ask him about finances and whatever else. You won't have to moving forward, otherwise to fact check at an intermediate level, but you're going to say, well, what do I do with the financial sector for this and that, whatever else? And you're going to be able to have a conversation with the virtual memory, and it's going to give you enough to say, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't have to drill down through 8 websites where 6 were nonsense. It's going to give you the best results.
Yep.
And now our job is to figure out, how do we get our clients to appear as the most thought-provoking, authoritative results that
Yeah.
get surfaced, scraped, and cited.
Well, and I'll tell you. So I'll give you this as an example. So I bought a new truck earlier, well, almost a year ago now, because we bought a new trailer, fifth wheel. So we had to get a truck. I had to get a truck that was bigger, that could pull it. And I don't know if you've ever looked on a truck on any one of the manufacturer websites. They have 12 different ways from Sunday you can build each section of each truck. And, Jeff has a Bronco. That is even worse, because there are 8 different models of Bronco and different trim packages and everything else that go along with it. Yep. So if you kind of start going along, you look at it, this is so much work. It's so much work to figure out what do I need and what's the difference between all this. And I'm a spreadsheet junkie. So past life, it was, I guess I'm building another spreadsheet so I can make columns, so I can compare everything, so I can figure out what's what. And it's going to take me 3 weeks to figure out what this is and what it's all about and what everything is. Now I go into ChatGPT and I'm like, okay, so here's what I want and here's what I need. I built a single chat because I have a diesel truck. I've never owned a diesel vehicle before. And so I built a chat and I said, here's my diesel mechanic expert. And I asked it all kinds of questions about what I should or shouldn't do. And my truck had a problem with it. It was, I have air suspension in the back, and I got an air suspension error. And then all of a sudden I got another error. And I'm thinking, crap, now I'm going to have an expense, or I'm going to have this. And so I thought, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, how am I going to fix this? And as it drilled down, and I realized that there's an electrical system issue, which started systematically shutting down elements on the truck. And the problem is probably because the battery on the truck had low voltage. So the truck works fine. It drives and everything else. It just has this air suspension and a couple other things that were starting to go wonky. And so I went into my mechanic and I said, can you check the voltage on my batteries? They checked the voltage. Yep, both batteries were low. Replaced both batteries. I get my truck out, and everything is shut off at this point. I'm thinking, maybe I didn't fix it. So I went home. I said, okay, if it's not fixed, I'll go back the next day. Next day, turn my truck on. Everything works.
Amazing, eh? Again, it's problem solving. You're not going to go in and do the actual open it up and replace the batteries, but you're able to assess the problem versus going down like the service department's rabbit hole. We're going to do this and we're going to do that.
We're going to hook it up to the computer. We're going to spend all this diagnostic. We're going to charge you, $150 or whatever dollars an hour to start figuring out what your problem is with this vehicle.
It's amazing in that regard. It's funny you mentioned about your truck, and I'm going to come back to the truck in a minute as we start to wrap up here. I want to tell you a fun story, and then I'm surprised you haven't slaughtered me with a joke yet. Maybe it's because you actually like me a little bit more than other people like Denise does and so forth, but we'll leave that for another day. But I have an older Volkswagen, like a 2003 Volkswagen. I love older Volkswagens. I can't afford one from the 80s at this time of my life, and they're hard to find. But this is my car that I'm stylizing to pay homage to the 80s within a 2000 shell. Okay. My point being is I've got a great shop down the street, but there's a mechanic shop. They don't want to talk ideas with me. They just want to do stuff. I
Yeah.
built a GPT. I was
Yeah.
up at my in-laws cottage, and I was sitting out on the deck, and I was on my phone, and this is what I want to do. This is what I have. These are things I'm thinking about, and I'm having a conversation, and it's building in its memory and understanding my car. Don't do this, and this won't work there, and this will not look good on the body line, but this would look sharp, and you should do this if you want to do that. And what my point, same thing with it is, I can
Yeah.
problem solve issues, but I
Yeah.
can also use it almost as a Pinterest board, if you will, and I've got literally here next to me, I have a 8.5 by 11 page of all the different things I want to do, it segmented in categories. But now I kind of have a roadmap of things I want to do in the next couple of years to continue to have fun with my hobby. And the thing is, at least I can have a constructive conversation with the right people. And if the mechanic says that's a bad idea, well, then I'm going to trust them, because
Yeah.
that's the human experience and intelligence. But if I can tell them, well, I want to do this and that and whatever else, they're like, what do you need me for? Just bring us the parts and we'll do it. Yeah, go ahead and buy it. Then it's like, then I get what I want versus being frustrated.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and those are examples of a personal thing, but now take that into digital marketing, the same concept. What problem or what thing do you want to solve or want to understand? And drill down a little bit, ask questions, tell it to ask you questions. And again, I think the theme I'm trying to say is the light bulb will come on. And then it's the options are endless. But going back to your truck for a moment, I want to make you laugh because I've always known you to be one of those people. You ain't driving a little like AMC Gremlin around and whatever else.
I love
Go
my
big
truck.
or go home with Nicole.
I love my truck.
I know. I saw you. I've known for years you have a trailer. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that's your passion, to get away from the computer and to get out into nature and plug in somewhere and just live off the grid. That's really something you enjoy with your life partner. Now, with that being said, I saw you at regionals. We were in Toronto. And I'm coming out of the where we were, that head office there, and I see coming around the corner this big ass like 2500 or whatever diesel, and it's got
3500 by the way.
Is it 3500?
It's a 3500.
Oh, excuse me.
It's a 1 ton, man.
It's got this 1 ton 3500 truck diesel or whatever, and it comes out of the park. It's parked in the back because it's too big to fit in a goddamn parking space. And as it comes around the corner with diesel shooting out of the exhaust and everything, and I think you have like it's either these big roof racks or something.
Kayak racks.
Yeah, kayak racks, and the thing looks lifted, or the air suspension and whatever. And here I see blonde Nicole peeling around the corner, and I'm like, that's Nicole. Like, God, but literally, I'm there going, I fucking right, Nicole. Like, I told my wife that. She's like, what a badass. I'm like, oh, that's Nicole, 100%. But like, we're all getting into these cars, and people are getting into other stuff and whatever. I got this older Chevy Silverado, which looks like a little like toy car compared to yours. I'm thinking I'm driving this big hulking tank. I'm like, here comes Nicole. She's like, get out of the way, bro. But that's you, eh? It's you like it suits your lifestyle, right? You're pulling a big trailer now.
And I don't know if we've talked about it too much, but I don't know. I own a horse, right? And
I did not know that.
Yeah, I've been riding since I was 10 years old, and although I haven't ridden much in the last probably 5 or so years because my horse is no longer able to be ridden. He had a neurological issue, which I think was probably a viral infection that turned into a neurological issue where he couldn't walk. He was in a lot of pain, and we had 3 months of just hell, and he was in extreme pain. I thought I was going to lose him at that point. But we were able to turn around. He lives a great life. He's a pasture pet now. Nice. He definitely lives the life of Riley. And if you look at him, you're like, oh, he could be ridden. But you just don't know if you're going to get on and he's going to go in the wrong direction. But he is a super cool guy. He is the toughest horse I have ridden in my whole entire life. And, I started him and trained him. And he was always tried to be one step ahead. So he's somebody that you had to be engaged with all the time. And I didn't have a truck in those days, but it was kind of, a good horse girl has a truck.
You bet.
So it's kind of, I have my truck
You're such a
now.
badass. Like, watch out when you come around. So talk about watch out for Nicole. I wanna leave you with two humorous stories. I always like to kind of fall on my sword and make fun of myself a little bit. And these show our friendship and our banter, because that's one thing I learned very early. Being very thankful to become your friend, outside of being a colleague, was you pull no punches with me, and that's what I love about you. You're gonna say matter of fact. So the first one was I think I'm at convention, and I'm on a speaking panel, just a Q&A panel about something and whatever else,
Yeah.
or I'm asking questions, or I don't remember what it was. Anyways, you're in the crowd, and I know
Oh, I
you're in
know
the
this one.
crowd. Yeah, I know you're in the crowd and whatever else, but I'm up there talking. I'm probably babbling on like I'm always am, talking too much and whatever, and just out of the blue, like I think I'm getting to the punchline. I stop for a moment and whatever, and all of a sudden you hear from the crowd, yeah, shut up, Mike. And I'm like, what? Whatever else. And then all of a sudden you see Nicole's head pop out from her seat and look, and it's like, hi. And I'm like, love you too, Nicole. I don't know
Or
why
there
you
was the
attacked me.
time where you were supposed to talk if you had the mic.
Yeah.
And you were had so much to say, or whatever it was that was driving you, which you and I have a very similar personality in that point, because sometimes I just can't wait. But I had the damn mic.
That's
And
what
there's
it
Mike.
was. I'm sorry.
No. And so then I put the mic right up to my mouth. You do not have the mic. And you're like, what the hell?
So that's a fun one. Again, Mike, shut the hell up and let other people talk, you idiot. And the one that's honestly will forever be one of my favorite memories of you. And I hope that our friendship will continue for years and years to come. And I know it will. But so I had a really tough second half of last year for different reasons.
Yeah.
And ultimately what happened was, when I get in a tough spot, I kind of exclude myself from stuff and kind of go quiet. And I missed a bunch of mastermind meetings, month over month, problems with work and other things. And I just wasn't open to facing people and everything. I just wanted to put my head down and work. So the rules with mastermind is that, you have to be accountable to attendance. Otherwise you could be voted out because it's not constructive for the other members that really depend on you. And I respect that. And I knew I was missing more than I could. And I'm a person that never misses stuff.
Yeah.
So I sent an email to Neil Lappy, who's the moderator and kind of boss of our mastermind, and I included everybody. And I just said, hi Neil. Unfortunately, I've missed a couple of these. I understand your accountability and what needs to be for the group, and I think it's time for me to respectfully exit the group and kind of resign and let somebody else come in that will better support you guys. And just thank you for having me. And that was kind of my, it was hard to type, but I did it. And okay, fine. And so Neil writes back right away, Mike, really sad to hear this, but thank you for all your contributions. We're going to miss you, Neil. And then I get, different members in our mastermind group sending nice notes like, sorry to hear this. Thanks, man, whatever else. And then about 2 hours later, here comes Nicole's response. And if you know Nicole, this was Nicole. It's, Mike, you're not allowed to fucking leave. I will not allow it. Neil, and remember, Neil is like the big wig of he's the number one on the totem pole of WSI in the sense of revenue and everything else. Like Neil has been around a long time and he has a tremendous amount of respect. But Nicole in the message says that, and then it's like, Neil, give Mike whatever time he needs to get his shit together and let him come back. And then other people are like, that's fine with me. That's fine with me. And then Neil's like, okay, Mike, well, we'll leave it up to you, but the group wants you to stay. We'll make this exception or whatever else. And I'm just sitting there going like,
there's no way I'm letting you leave.
And I just don't know what I deserve to get that such, kind of, I take it as like respect from you saying like, you're important for what you bring to our little dance here. And we're going to make a way to make this work. And your note there, and look, I love everybody in that group and they were all kind to me, but that was the note I said there and said, okay, you know what, if they're going to give me a little bit of grace, then I'll make this work. And now I'm back after a couple of months, and I missed you guys, but you were that catalyst to just throw lightning and, flames on the fire to say, I'm going to stir some shit up here. And you've always had that voice. You are a proud, loud woman in the right way of, you're not going to let anybody say something out of line. You're going to make sure your point comes across, but you take care of the people that you care about. And that's my moment with you.
I can't let, me be the only one in there. That's why you had to stay. And besides, you're the one that calls out Neil all the time.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I know you
He
do.
absolutely hates it, but I just love to churn the butter. I love it. He's actually going to be coming on the podcast in March, eh?
Oh, nice. That'll be fun.
He's like, I'm honored. I'm like, do you know what you're getting into? No,
that's going to be some serious entertainment value.
Oh, it'll be great because, he's a wealth of knowledge, and
he really is.
He is so kind at giving back in his own way. Talk about giving your time to people. He gives so much time to other people because he was one of us, working, surviving, fighting, growing. And he's really about giving back to the network, and that's going to be a fun con. But let's not lose the focus on you. Yeah, I stir shit up in the mastermind. That's who I am. But your voice was like the voice of the group, and that will stick with me for a long time. So that's my kind of way of saying love you and thank you for that, because I was out, but you pulled me back in, and thanks, because I need more to do.
I know. Well, I love you too, and I can't have you just leaving us like that. I mean, it's the one time where we actually connect every single month too, and you just can't let those friendships or those relationships go. You just can't.
And again, going back to, like we said, about the network overall, and this is not a WSI plug, that's the power of the network. Yes, it's colleagues, it's partners, it's suppliers, but there is truly people that build friendships that combat the noise of digital marketing, but are there to help each other. We've talked personally about stuff going on in life. It's a safe space and whatnot. And how many people do you know that can talk to, what's kind of perceived by the outside as colleagues about stuff like that versus just, ops sucks. Yeah, it sucks. But in a moment of real vulnerability, to be able to say, hey, lean on me, or hey, Mike, or hey, Nicole, my business is really struggling. I got a hole. I got a problem. How can I help? How can I help?
Yeah. That's every single time. Every single time.
All right. So as we wrap up here, because you probably got to get back to ops, and so do I.
I know we can sit here all day.
No, we could talk forever, and I'll have you back on down the road. Absolutely. We've got a million things to talk about, but I always want to give the guests just a little area to plug anything. So, where can people that listen to the podcast find your website of your franchise? And also, what is the, whether it's LinkedIn or whatever, what social handles that people want to connect with you in the sense of digital marketing or anything else?
Yeah, so the business is WSI Digital Direction. That's the website as well. I am active on LinkedIn as well. And I love to connect with everybody. I have a fair amount of connections on there. I try really, really hard to, wish people happy birthdays at least, or to, you see their positions change or something, just to try and stay connected, because there's so many people that you end up connecting with that you try not to turn them into just contacts that you never talk to.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll,
guys, make sure you go look for Nicole King.
Thank you for the opportunity, though, eh? I really, and there you got my Canadian coming out, because I said, rock on, eh?
Rock on, eh? No, please don't thank me. I just wanted to come and chat with my friend for a little bit, because I've had a day and a half, you've had a day and a half, and that's what Christina and I originally conceived here in the sense of a theme was, this was a therapy session to just take the pressure of ops off your brain towards the end of the day. Like you're sitting on the couch with your friend, having a cup of coffee, catching up after whatever else. And I'm going to have you back and so forth. But make sure you go look for Nicole King on WSI Digital Direction on LinkedIn, her website, wsidigitaldirection.com. Make sure that you look for her at, convention, regional meetings. She's on open forums. She was just on the one today talking about AI Campus and what we're doing with WSI. She's one of the good people in WSI, and one of the people that I'm glad to call my friend. Specific to the Angry Ops Guy, you can find us Angry Ops Guy _ WSI. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, we're on YouTube. And I've got ops songs for fun on YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify under my moniker Ops285, Curator of Thoughts. Go look at that if you want to listen to my rage of making fun of myself and everything I go through. But most importantly, we're going to have more guests coming on shortly. Got a great lineup for the next couple of months, so stay tuned. And remember, ops sucks. So that's why we're here. So Nicole, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
Sorry, off Mike, your email went to junk.